The night was dead quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your eardrums like a threat. Then, the radio erupts. Sierra 7 to command, asterisk static clause at the voice. A man's breath comes in ragged gulps, like he's just stopped running. We've got eyes on the target. It's a pause. Too long. When he speaks again, his voice cracks. Jesus Christ. It's moving. The gunfire that follows isn't disciplined bursts, it's panic. Magazines emptied in seconds. Someone screams, not the shout of a wounded man, but the raw, shrill terror of a child waking from a nightmare. Then, silence. The radio hisses, a sound like wet fingers on glass. Dead air. Blackness swallows the screen. Words appear, stark white against the void. Classified. 2016, Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. The darkness lingers. Just when it feels unbearable, a new sound emerges, wind scraping across desert rocks. A loose tent flap snaps in the breeze. Somewhere, a dog whines low in its throat. Then, a voice. Not from the radio, but from now, years later. A man speaks slowly, each word weighed down by memory. They told us it was a recovery mission. Just, go in, secure the package, exfil. No engagement expected. A dry chuckle. Nobody said the damn thing would be watching us. The wind rises. Sand whispers against boots. Faint, beneath it all, a hum. Not machinery. Something organic. A vibration that doesn't match the rhythm of the desert. First night back at base, Vasquez started crying. Real quiet, like he was ashamed. Said the rock was singing to him. We laughed. Next morning, his lips were cracked bloody. Like he'd been singing back all night. A new sound, metal groaning under pressure. The creak of a storage container door easing open on its own. Then the radio started picking up voices. Not Taliban. Not any language we knew. The linguist they flew in? He listened for 10 seconds, then walked outside and threw up. A pause. When the voice returns, it's quieter. You ever hear something so wrong, your body just rejects it? That's what this was. The hum grows louder. Now there are words in it, or something like words. Syllables that almost form meaning before twisting away. Command said it was mass hysteria. Too much heat, too little sleep. A bitter snort. Then why'd they ship the rock out in a lead-lined crate? Why'd the guys who touched it start forgetting their own names? The screen is still black. But now you feel it, the weight of something close. Breath on the back of your neck. The voice drops to a whisper. It wasn't cursed. It was hungry. And I think we fed it. A final sound, the wet crunch of bone. Then, true silence. The desert doesn't care about secrets. The wind scours the rocks clean every night, wiping away footprints, erasing traces. But some things won't stay buried. The screen flickers to life with grainy satellite footage, a black and white God's eye view of the Afghan wasteland. A cluster of tents and hums cling to the dirt like scabs. Coordinates flash in the corner, 32.6278 degrees north, 65.8780 degrees east. Real place. Real mission. A soldier's voice, hushed and rough with nicotine, cuts through the hum of the drone feed. They called it Task Force Viper. Sounds badass, right? We were glorified movers with guns. The image zooms in. A cave mouth yawns open at the edge of camp, unnaturally circular, like something bored its way out. Red pixels swarm around it, thermal signatures. Too many for the 6-man recon team sent in. First weird thing? No locals. Not for miles. Usually, you got shepherds, kids, somebody watching. But this place? Even the damn birds avoided it. The footage jumps. Now we're inside the cave, helmet cam perspective. The beam of a flashlight catches strange grooves in the walls. Not tool marks. More like claw drags. The camera tilts down. There it is. The Echo obelisk, 3 feet of black stone that drinks the light. Its surface writhes with carvings that make no sense. Not Arabic. Not cuneiform. Something older. A new voice, younger, jittery with recalled adrenaline. Vasquez was our point man. Touched it first. Soon as his gloves made contact, the damn thing, a sharp inhale. It vibrated. Like a phone set to silent. Felt it through our boots. The camera jerks wildly as the soldier stumbles back. For half a second, the obelisk's shadow on the cave wall doesn't match its shape. Too many limbs. A forensic report materializes on screen, DOD letterhead, half redacted. One line escapes the sensor's pen. Subject echo exhibits piezoelectric properties under stress. Recommend immediate transfer to. The rest is black ink. The nicotine voice returns, quieter now. They had a lead box waiting back at base. Not for us, for it. That's when I knew we weren't guarding an artifact. We were babysitting a prisoner. The satellite image reappears. The cave is now swarmed with heat signatures, dozens of them. All standing perfectly still. The young soldier whispers. Tell me something, Doc. You ever seen thermal imaging pick up cold spots in 120-degree heat? Asterisk. The screen goes dark. But the whispering doesn't stop. The generators never worked right after they brought it back to base. Not that anyone said it out loud. Not at first. That's not how soldiers operate. You notice your buddy's hands shaking during morning coffee. You see the way the new guy keeps checking over his shoulder like something's tracking him. You don't talk about it. Not until it's too late. Security camera footage, grainy, timestamped 2:17 local time. The obelisk sits in its makeshift containment tent, bathed in the sickly green glow of emergency lights. The camera flickers. 4:3 frames, less than a tenth of a second, the shadows around the artifact twist. Like heat haze, but wrong. Thicker. More deliberate. Private First Class Eli Carter's voice cracks through the silence. First weird thing? My wife called me at 4 o'clock. Said she had this nightmare about me drowning. Thing is... A long pause. My phone didn't ring. Found it in my hand already connected. Battery dead cold. The footage jumps. Now we see Sergeant Vasquez standing guard outside the tent. His breath comes in visible puffs, except the temperature readout in the corner shows 88 degrees Fahrenheit. He keeps rubbing his arms like he's freezing. A new clip, the mess hall at dawn. 3 rangers sit in silence, food untouched. One of them, Corporal Jake Morrow, stares at his reflection in a coffee mug. His pupils are dilated so wide his irises nearly disappear. Started noticing the symbols everywhere, Morrow mutters. Scratched into the latrine door. In the condensation on my rifle scope. Once, in my own damn handwriting, like I'd been doodling them in my sleep. The camera pans to the base's German Shepherd, Rex. The dog stands rigid, fur bristling, staring at an empty corner of the yard. A low, continuous growl vibrates from his chest. Then, suddenly, he yelps and scrambles backward, tail between his legs. No one touches him. Nothing's there. The radio crackles with a transmission from the perimeter guard. Command? We've got a civilian at the north gate. Female. Says she's looking for her son. Sergeant Reyes' voice cuts in, tight, no locals within 5 clicks. You know the ROE. Yeah, but Sarge, she's speaking perfect English. Says her boy's name is. A pause. Christ. She just said my name. The screen cuts to black. But the growling doesn't stop. The temperature dropped 17 degrees in 12 minutes. That's what the base's weather station recorded before it malfunctioned. 17 degrees. At high noon in the Afghan desert. The air got so cold, men could see their breath inside the command tent. But that wasn't the worst part. Thermal camera footage, timestamp 12:04 p.m. The screen shows a heat signature moving along the perimeter fence. Human-shaped. But wrong. Too tall. Shoulders too narrow. And the thermal signature? Ice cold. In 102-degree heat. Corporal Jake Morrow's voice shakes. I was on watch when I saw it. Just standing there. Not hiding. Not moving. Like it was waiting for me to notice. The footage zooms in. The figure's head tilts, an unnatural, jerking motion. Then it steps through the chain link fence like the metal isn't there. Gunfire erupts. Muzzle flashes light up the thermal camera. Every shot hits center mass. The figure doesn't react. Doesn't bleed. Just keeps walking forward. Then, static. When the footage clears, the figure is gone. But something new appears on the ground, footprints. Not boots. Bare feet. But the toes, there are too many joints. A new clip, the medical tent. Private First Class Eli Carter sits on a cot, rocking back and forth. His hands are wrapped in blood-soaked bandages. "I woke up like this," he whispers. Fingernails gone. Like I'd been clawing at something. He looks up, eyes wide. "But Doc? The weird part? My door was still locked from the inside." The screen cuts to Sergeant Reyes' helmet cam footage. Night vision. He's sweeping the motor pool when his light catches movement under a Humvee. The camera zooms in. A face stares back. Human. But not. The eyes reflect light like a cat's. The mouth stretches too wide when it smiles. Reyes' breathing goes ragged. The thing under the Humvee cocks its head, and repeats his exact breathing pattern in perfect sync. Then the radio screams to life. All units, we have a man down at the artifact tent." Vasquez is, a wet choking sound. "Oh God, his skin is..." The transmission cuts. But the screaming doesn't. The artifact tent wasn't just empty when they found it. It was clean. No blood. No signs of struggle. Just the lead-lined crate standing wide open, its interior scratched to hell like something had clawed its way out from the inside. And in the center of the floor, Vasquez's dog tags, still warm to the touch. Sergeant Reyes' voice comes through gritted teeth. "We searched the whole damn base. Checked every bunker, every vehicle. Then Morrow pointed out, we weren't looking up." Security footage shows the search. Flashlight beams cutting through the midnight dark. Suddenly, one beam freezes. Trembles. Tilts upward. The camera follows. There, clinging to the underside of a guard tower like some enormous insect, Vasquez. Or what used to be Vasquez. His body twists at impossible angles, his uniform hanging in tatters. His mouth moves, but what comes out isn't speech, it's the same distorted hum the artifact made. The footage cuts to black just as his head rotates 180 degrees. But the audio keeps rolling, Carter's panicked breathing as he runs, the sound of something heavy dropping to the ground behind him, then... "Reyes! Oh God, it's got Mo!" A wet crunch. Silence. When the image returns, it's handheld camera footage from the command center. Colonel Hayes grips the edges of a map table, his face ashen. As of 0300 hours, this base is under full quarantine. No one in or out until further notice. And for God's sake, stop looking at the shadows. Outside the tent, something scrapes long fingers down the canvas. The colonel doesn't flinch. "It's learning our voices now." The quarantine lasted 17 hours. 17 hours of locked doors and loaded weapons and men whispering prayers they hadn't thought of since childhood. 17 hours of listening to something walk the perimeter in slow, measured steps that never quite matched human cadence. Then the black SUVs arrived. Not military. Not any agency with markings. Just 5 identical Suburbans with tinted windows so dark they seemed to swallow the desert sunlight. The lead vehicle didn't even stop at the gates. It drove straight through the chain link like the metal wasn't there, leaving no damage in its wake. Corporal Jake Morrow's hands shake as he describes it. They moved wrong. Not like Vasquez wrong, but smooth. Too smooth. Like their joints didn't bend so much as rearrange. The lead guy wore sunglasses at midnight. When he took them off to read the manifest, his eyes were perfect black. No whites. No iris. Just pupil from edge to edge. The visitors brought their own containment unit, a stainless steel coffin-sized box etched with the same symbols as the obelisk, but in silver rather than carved stone. When they opened it, the temperature in the command tent dropped so fast the coffee in Hayes' mug froze solid. Security footage shows the lead visitor approaching the artifact crate. He doesn't touch it. Instead, he sings to it, 3 notes in a language that makes the camera lens vibrate. The obelisk's answering hum shakes dust from the rafters. Then the screaming starts. Not from the tent. From the barracks. From the mess hall. From every place a soldier had tried to sleep in the last 48 hours. Private Carter's voice cracks over the radio. They're coming out of the walls. The goddamn walls. The visitors don't react. They simply place the artifact in their steel box and seal it with a hiss of pressurized air. Instantly, the screaming stops. The temperature normalizes. Outside, the desert wind resumes like someone flipped a switch. As they leave, the lead visitor pauses by Colonel Hayes. The audio picks up only one phrase. "You'll want to burn the mattresses." Then they are gone. The cleanup takes 3 days. They find Carter curled in a supply closet, his fingernails torn out from scratching at the concrete floor. Morrow keeps repeating the same 6 words, "I saw what was in them." No one asks what he means. The official report calls it a containment breach of experimental chemical agents. Every soldier gets a new set of dog tags, even the ones who still have their originals. And at the bottom of the crater where they burned the mattresses, the ground stays cold for a week. They came for the survivors at 3 a.m. on a Thursday. No knock. No warning. Just the sudden glare of headlights through bedroom windows, the crunch of boots on gravel, and the too polite voice saying, "Sergeant Reyes? You need to come with us now," through a locked door. They took them one by one. Reyes from his off-base apartment in the middle of reheating leftover Chinese food. Morrow from a VA hospital where he'd been getting his service-related sleep disturbances treated. Carter from his mother's house in Ohio, where he'd been sleeping with every light in the room blazing. The debriefing room was always the same: white walls, no windows, a table bolted to the floor. The man asking questions wore a suit that never wrinkled and a smile that never reached his eyes. He never gave a name. Just a number: "You can call me 27. Reyes' testimony comes in broken fragments. They didn't ask about the artifact. Didn't care about the things we saw. Just wanted to know what we remembered about the symbols. Made me draw them over and over until my hand cramped. When I messed up, 27 would, he'd." A long pause. His teeth were too sharp when he got frustrated. The documents they signed weren't standard NDAs. The text shimmered under the fluorescent lights, words rearranging themselves when you blinked. Morrow tried to refuse, until they showed him security footage from his own apartment the night before. Sleeping footage, where something clearly stood in the corner watching him for 7 straight hours. They all signed. When Carter asked what would happen if they talked, 27 demonstrated. He placed a tape recorder on the table and pressed play. The voice that came out was Carter's, but saying things he'd never uttered. Horrible things. Impossible things. In languages that made the air vibrate. "That's what leaks sound like to civilians," 27 said pleasantly. "Like madness. Like nonsense. You'll be doing the world a favor by keeping quiet." The final warning came with their discharge papers. If you dream about it, don't write it down. If you hear humming, don't hum back. And for God's sake, never look directly at your reflection in the dark. Back in the present, Reyes exhales shakily. The camera lingers on his hands, where 3 fingernails are missing. Just like Carter's. Funny thing is, I don't even remember what we recovered anymore. Just that we shouldn't have. The tape recorder on the table between us clicks on by itself. The recording light blinks red in the darkened room. Outside, a summer thunderstorm batters the windows, but the rain sounds wrong, like fingernails dragging across tin. Sergeant Daniel Reyes sits hunched forward in a cheap motel chair, his massive frame diminished by something more than time. His hands, once steady enough to field strip an M4 in total darkness, now tremble around a lukewarm beer. The scar along his jaw, the one his D214 claims came from training exercises, twitches as he speaks. "They told us it was over. That they'd contained the situation." A bitter laugh. Funny how containment works when the goddamn thing can crawl through walls. He leans forward, the yellow bulb overhead casting shadows that make his eye sockets look hollow. "First month back stateside? I woke up to all my kitchen cabinets standing open. Every single one. Food still inside, but arranged. Like someone had sorted my canned goods into patterns. Tuna cans in spirals. Soup labels all facing the same direction. The storm outside intensifies. Something thumps against the side of the building, too heavy to be wind. Reyes doesn't flinch. Morrow called me last winter. Said he kept finding footprints in his apartment. Bare feet, same as we saw at the base. But the toes? He holds up 7 fingers. Always led to his bathroom mirror. One night he caught his reflection blinking out of sync. Next morning, his toothbrush was missing. A glass of water on the table between us trembles. The surface ripples against some unseen disturbance. Reyes watches it with the wary recognition of a man who's learned not to question physics anymore. Carter lasted the longest. 18 months clean. Then one night his girlfriend woke up to him standing over their bed. Humming. Said his mouth moved but the sound came from his chest. When she turned on the lights. He trails off, staring at something over my shoulder. The room's temperature drops so suddenly our breath fogs in the air. The coroner called it a cerebral hemorrhage. Funny thing, though, they had to identify him by dental records. Like something had rearranged his face from the inside out. The power flickers. In the split-second darkness, something whispers my name from the corner of the room. When the lights return, Reyes is holding a photograph, a faded Polaroid of the original squad standing by their Humvee. Vasquez's face is scratched out. Command thinks 6 men came home from that deployment. But look close. His cracked fingernail taps the image. Count the shadows. There are 7. The recorder clicks off by itself. The storm outside stops dead. In the sudden silence, the bathroom faucet turns on full blast. The water runs black and thick as crude oil. Reyes doesn't look up. It's learning how to use doors now. The motel room's television flickers to life without warning, bathing the walls in grainy static. Reyes doesn't react, just stares at the screen like he's been expecting this. The emergency broadcast tone screeches, then cuts to dead air. 4-3 heartbeats, there's nothing. Then the artifact appears. Not as we saw it in Afghanistan, not stone, not contained, but living, pulsing like a tumorous heart suspended in the static. The symbols along its surface slither like worms under skin. Reyes' voice is barely audible over the rising hum. They think they moved it. Locked it away in some desert bunker or deep-sea trench. But that's the joke, you can't relocate something that exists in the cracks. The television's glow intensifies, throwing long shadows that don't match the furniture. One particular shadow, elongated and too thin, stretches from the bathroom doorway, though the door itself remains shut. Morrow's dead. Jumped from his apartment window last Tuesday. Coroner said he drowned. Reyes finally turns from the screen, his eyes reflecting the static in stuttering bursts. They found his lungs full of salt water. In Phoenix. The hum crescendos. The photograph of the squad begins vibrating on the table, then, with terrible slowness, Vasquez's scratched-out face begins reforming beneath the marks, his features resolving into something not quite human. A new sound joins the noise, wet, rhythmic knocking from inside the bathroom. Not on the door. On the mirror. Reyes stands abruptly, his chair screeching against the floor. For the first time, real fear cracks his voice. It's not about where they hid it. It's about where it let them take it. Those symbols? They're not containment markings. They're invitations. The television implodes with a sound like shattering bone. The lights follow, plunging us into blackness so complete it feels textured. In the dark, something breathes directly into my ear, a breath that smells of desert heat and rotting copper. Then, impossibly, Reyes' voice comes from everywhere at once. You shouldn't have come here. Silence. The lights return. The room is empty. Reyes is gone. The photograph lies face up on the table, now showing 8 shadows. And the bathroom door stands ajar, the mirror inside shattered into a perfect spiral. The digital clock on the nightstand blinks 3:07 a.m. in blood-red numerals. The motel room is empty now, just the lingering scent of gun oil and sweat, the overturned chair where Reyes had been sitting. The photograph remains, its edges slightly curled as if exposed to intense heat. I reach for it. Bad idea. The moment my fingers make contact, a jolt of static electricity arcs up my arm, except it's not electricity. It's memory. Vasquez's face swims into focus, his features twisting in real time. His mouth moves, but the voice that comes out is Reyes. You're still not getting it. There was never just one artifact. The image shifts, now I'm seeing through someone else's eyes. A warehouse somewhere, rows upon rows of identical lead-lined crates stacked to the ceiling. Workers in hazmat suits move between them, scanning each box with devices that beep in frantic, irregular patterns. One crate near the back pulses with the same eerie glow we saw in Afghanistan. The serial number stenciled on its side reads, *Echo 117. The vision jumps. A desert highway at midnight. A truck convoy with no military markings. Suddenly, the lead vehicle swerves violently, not to avoid something in the road, but to avoid something coming out of the radio. The truck flips. The crate splits open on impact. And the shadows stand up. The connection breaks. I'm back in the motel room, gasping, the photograph smoking in my fingers. The image has changed again. Now it shows the original squad posing in front of their Humvee, but their faces are all wrong. Elongated. Too many teeth. And their eyes. Their eyes are open in the Polaroid, though I could have sworn they'd been blinking when I first looked. The bathroom door creaks wider. The shattered mirror reflects nothing but an empty doorway, yet I hear footsteps approaching. Slow. Deliberate. The television screen, now cracked and dead, suddenly flares to life one last time. Just 3 words in crisp military font against a black background. Check your 6. I turn. The last thing I see is my own reflection in the motel window, smiling back at me with Vasquez's eyes. Then the recording cuts. But somewhere, in some other motel room, in some other city, another television flickers on. Another veteran sits down to tell his story. And another shadow appears where none should be.